Okay, great. So I'm just going to share my screen. Hopefully that will all go to plan. Right. I'm just thinking though, will I know if people join when I'm doing this? I don't think I'm not sure if we have a good plan for that.
I
I'll
think Cassandra should be able to if she's a co-host now.
Are you able to see if people are joining, Cassandra?
I didn't see anything earlier asking me to admit, so.
Okay. I'll just keep an eye on new participants and we'll add people if needed. Sorry for the technical stuff here. Okay, so yeah, so thank you very much everyone for joining on this Friday afternoon stroke evening. Yeah, we thought it'd be a really good opportunity to get local residents and friends groups involved in the City Nature Challenge. So we thought, well, let's put together a little training event to let people know what's going on and to help people use the iNaturalist app if you haven't used it before. If you haven't already got the app on your phone, maybe download it now while Michelle and I are talking, because Cassandra will go through how to use it. It might just be handy to be able to see it on your phone while you're doing that. So how to run a species recording event through the City Nature Challenge. So many of your groups I know already do things in the species recording area, but for those of you who are newer to friends groups or newer to species recording, I mean, essentially the big reason to do it is that when we identify and record species and have them logged in an environmental center, then we can help make sure those sites and habitats are better protected and therefore also protect those species. The nice thing about getting the community involved is that it helps develop their appreciation for what's around them. So for example, you may have local residents complaining about weeds in the grass or wildways and not understanding the importance of letting the grass grow longer, for example. But by getting people involved in events like this, they appreciate that actually weeds are maybe just wildflowers by another name, for example, and also understanding better why it's so important to look after these different types of habitats. So Michelle and Cassandra are going to talk more about the City Nature Challenge and using the iNaturalist app. But we just wanted to say it'd be great to let us know if you're doing any events. So City Nature Challenge is April the 28th to May the 1st. We'd like to get as many people involved as possible, and also by holding events, as you know, the more events you hold, the more attention your friends group gets, and hopefully more volunteers and participants you get. So if you email me, and we'll share the slides, I'll share them to the newsletter, and also recording will be available on the internet as well. If you email me, so I'm just gonna mute that. If you email me, the email address is laura@cprelondon.org.uk, and we can help publicize your events if you would like. We can also put them in our newsletter to park users that are looking for events in London, and hopefully also help raise the profile of species recording in that group as well. So over to Michelle.
Great, thank you. Hi everybody, my name's Michelle, and for those of you that don't know me, I'm the Parks and Green Space Volunteering Officer for Haringey Council. So obviously I'm so pleased to be able to speak with you all, and then another part of my work with City Nature Challenge will just be working a bit more focused with the Haringey groups. So City Nature Challenge, it's been running since 2016 actually, and it's overall organised by the Natural History Museum of Los Angeles County and California Academy of Sciences. And initially it was just between two cities, San Francisco and Los Angeles. And over the years, the number of cities has grown and it's become global. And London's actually been involved since 2018. And ever since then, the challenge in London has been led by the Natural History Museum's community science team. And I actually became aware of it when I used to work for a friends group in Tower Hamlets, and started going to the meetings with the Natural History Museum about the challenge and started to deliver events in Tower Hamlets, and it was such a huge success, and I've become a bit obsessed with it. So I was so excited to be able to share this with you today. It's a friendly competition across cities worldwide to see which city can involve the most people in recording the most wildlife. But more importantly, it's about bringing people together, getting people involved in citizen science and helping connect them with nature. It can be done alone, it can be done with friends and family, or it can be done with a community group. City Nature Challenge uses the website and the app iNaturalist to upload photos of the nature that people find over the challenge's 4-day period, which is, as you can see from that slide, the 28th of April to the 1st of May. If you could just go on to the next slide, please, Laura. Yes, so this app called iNaturalist and the website, the iNaturalist helps to identify and record what you find, and Cassandra from TCV will be going into this in a lot more detail. Outside of City Nature Challenge, you can still use iNaturalist. You can use it as part of events, you could use it on your own as you're just walking down the street. It's really, really flexible. The next slide, please, Laura.
All right, oh, there we go.
No worries. So there's lots of ways you could use City Nature Challenge and iNaturalist in activities. You could integrate it into events that you already might have planned for that time period. Some ideas for events could be if you did a mini beast hunt, you could even do it as part of a park run, guided walking tours, wildlife surveys, moth traps potentially, and litter picking events. So it doesn't have to be the sole, it can be the sole focus if you want it to be, but it could just be a bit of a tag along that you could just test out if you wanted to. And it also doesn't mean people have to have their eyes glued to their phone the entire time. Even if they just recorded one thing the whole time, that's absolutely fine. And they don't even have to have a phone themselves to be part of it. If you're delivering an event as the leader of the event, you might be happy for people to look over your shoulder and get involved that way, or other participants at the event might be happy to kind of share their phone. So it really doesn't have to be this hard, fast rule of having a phone, recording loads of wildlife. It's really flexible, which is really nice. As I said, most importantly, it's for people to engage in nature, and hopefully people have had fun at the same time. Even if you don't do an event, you could always just help promote City Nature Challenge across your social medias and platforms if you have them. Next slide, please, Laura. And I'm pretty sure I'm preaching to the converted here, but nature can be found anywhere, you know, even if you don't have you're not volunteering in a park that's full of this incredible biodiversity, it really can be found anywhere. So, you know, it could be part of if your park's small, potentially there could be a guided walk on the streets around it as well. You might find things on the bricks, going through the kind of paving slabs. So yeah, City Nature Challenge isn't, well, it's all about cities. So, you know, everyone who's participating is part of an urban environment. So it's just really about encouraging people to really use their senses and see what can be around them, and actually using iNaturalist. I think most of us have an interest in nature already, probably just because of what we're here for already. But even for myself, using iNaturalist has really just encouraged me to open my eyes a lot more. I used iNaturalist so much during lockdown and learned, so my ID knowledge of wildflowers in particular really developed from using it. So it can be such a useful tool. And of course, if we're promoting it to people that can't get access to a park, you can really do it in your home. You might have house spiders, or there might be moths, or people can take pictures outside of their window as well. It's a really great opportunity for people to discover a new park and potentially for them to discover you guys. They might not have been aware of you already, so this might be a way to encourage them to engage with you and potentially engage with you moving forward. Great, that's it from me. Oh no, actually, next slide. It's got some useful, helpful links in it, but I'm going to copy and paste this and put it into the chat. Great, that's me done. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Michelle. And also, I should have said that if you're doing an event in Haringey, please get in touch with Michelle at the council. If she hasn't done already, she's going to pop her details in the chat so she can also help promote your event as well.
Thank you.
Right. Cassandra's from TCV, and she's going to talk about using the app.
Yes, I will start sharing my screen. Share. How do I get this down? Can everyone see my full screen, or you see a bar?
No, we see the full screen. It looks good.
Ah, okay. Somehow I see like a bar on the top that's like covers some content, but if you can see everything, that's good.
Yeah, looks good.
Great. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Michelle. So I am Cassandra from the Conservation Volunteers. I see some familiar face, but for people who don't know me, I'm a senior project officer, and I work in habitat management and community engagement. But I'm also an extreme enthusiastic user of iNaturalist. Today, I just have my 2,000 observations. So very happy to share this amazing tool with you. And again, if you have any questions in the events, just pop them in the chat. And if you want to ask me, I can also pop my email address in the chat for you to contact me. Okay, so just going on. The first thing I'm going to talk about is create an account. So basically, you go to this website, and then you have this part. You put your email, create a username, password confirmation, and then you will receive an email ask you to confirm. Then you will have your account, which is really easy. One thing to talk about is whether to have a group account or an individual account for yourself. So group account is your own organization. The good thing about it is that you have control over what to put in this app. And also you will have a record for future use, or just to keep a record of wildlife in your own green space. For individual accounts, the good thing is people can take it away and they can use it themselves, more interactive. Or you can have both. You have a group account for those who come and don't want to use the phone or download the app, and you have your individual one for those who come and are happy to use it. Okay, so after you're registered, you can log in computer. You will see this page, and that's the landing page. This one I created for TCV Haringey and don't have any observation yet. So if you're new to iNaturalist, you will see exactly the same. Okay, that behind. For the activity, you actually are likely to use your mobile phone. So download the app to your phone, either iPhone or Android. For both that are free. And you'll be pleased to know that actually I tried just download the phone without creating any account, and I can still make observations. So for people, the public, they can just download the app and immediately start making observations and do account later. Okay, so now we're talking about the adding observation. So an observation contains your name, the observer, and then the time you took, you see this, and the location, but also some evidence that you see this organism, which is the use of this photo. So after you logged in into your phone app, you will see the leftmost screen. And this is an iPhone screen. The Android screen is really similar, with just like really a slight change in layout and the wording, but it's very similar. So here you have a camera thing and it says observe. So really simple, big button down here, and you click on it and there's a few options that you can take your evidence, either no photo or camera, or choose from your photo library, or you can even record the sound for bird, for example. If you hear that, you record it and other people can verify that it's that bird. So say we click on camera, and then you have this that you can take a camera, you can take a photo. You have two options, either retake if you're not happy with it, or just use photo. So speaking of photos, here's some tips for taking photos. The first one is just take an identifiable photo, like this one. Basically, this means the features of the organism are clear and easy to see. And second one iNaturalist suggests is focus on wild organisms. Like one very common thing is so-called weeds, like this dandelion or this butterfly. Another thing, some people may ask, what about humans? So humans are also wild organisms. So you can actually record them. It's not good to take photos of people's face for obvious reasons, but you can actually take a photo of their hand, and that's our identifying feature that we are Homo sapiens. You can choose whether you want to include humans in your survey. Another thing is you can also take photos of signs and tracks, for example, animal footprint, or in this example, it's an egg sac of this spider, but it's like in a very particular shape. So using this egg sac, we can actually ID this spider is here. So that can also be something you take photo of. Something not recommended by iNaturalist, but not like entirely you're forbidden to take it. We have a trick in later, I'll tell you, if you have a burning desire to take a photo of this like me, and I just want to know, oh, what's that flower in neighbor's garden? I want that one too. So anyway, just going through this. First is photos of unidentifiable one, like this one. You can see two birds in there, but it's very difficult to see the features that you can use to ID them. And also your pets or zoo animals, those are not wild organisms. Or cultivated plants, normally you can find in gardens in a like really beautiful shape. Again, if you can't tell like whether it's cultivated or not, just you can still record it, and there will be a great community there which can help you later. We'll talk about that later. Okay, more tips for taking photos. So it's always good to take multiple photos. So you can do one that is the overall organism or group of them, how they grow, and some ID features like this moss, this pointed part is this ID feature. This is when you know like which are, but if you don't know, just take a far like zoomed out shot and take a zoomed in shot for plants, take flower and leaves, just upload a few photos. So to help other people to help you identify. Another thing is metadata. This means normally if you are using a phone to take photo, it will automatically include when did you take this photo and the location that you take this photo. Remember we said earlier, what is an observation? It will include the location and time. So it should be automatically included. If you're using a camera, there's also a way to geotag it, and there's a video in Naturalist website. If you're interested, I can send it later. Another thing to bear in mind, if you screenshot or transfer, you may lose this metadata and you may need to manually put them in. Right, okay, back to the photo. So we talk about a few tips for taking photo. We click camera, we took a photo, we clicked use photo. As the most fun part is to ID it. So you will have this in your phone screen. And what you do is click this where this question mark is. What did you see? Then, very nicely, there's a few suggestions. You can see here, they say, oh, we're pretty sure this is the genus Kimperja. And then there's a few top suggested IDs. This is not always accurate for everything, but for moths, it's actually quite accurate, surprisingly. So at this stage, you can just click on the level that you are sure. You don't have to choose one from the species level. So here I want to introduce the classification hierarchy. So down here we got species, and then up the genus and family and all the way up. So if you take a photo and you know it's a plant, but you can't ID like what it's actually happen more if it's a fungi, then you just type in kingdom fungi and just leave it there. It's also good to bear in mind that not all organisms can be ID'd to species level just from photo. Some require like microscope or more chemical tests and things. So it's okay to leave it to genus level, for example. Okay, now we fill in the rest of the key informations. So first of all, so you click on the one you think it is, which this one I'm pretty sure is Kimperja prolonga. So there's a few other things you can fill in. Here is a place you can make a comment. So what I normally do is you tell a little bit about a habitat where you find it, like in woodland, for example, or in grassland. And if there's some features you can't show in a photo, you can also talk about it. Also, you can, if you're not sure the species, but you suspect it is this, you can also put it in here. And down here, we got the time, and here we got the location. So it should be auto-filled from the photo. If not, you just click in it and put the correct one in there. So down here, we have a few more buttons. One is geo-privacy. This have a few options: open, obscured, or private. This means if it is open, everyone can see it. Researchers can use it. Other naturalists can have a look at what's in it, and your records will be open to them. Obscured, it will slightly obscure the exact location. It could be used that you don't want to other people to know it's private, or it's a wildlife that needs more like protection, like otter, and you don't want to share the exact location, for example. If you click on private and nobody see the location, it wouldn't be very useful for other people, but you can still keep a record for yourself. And here, captive, cultivated. So that's the little trick we said earlier. If we want to know a species of a cultivated plant, you just click here and select yes. So people know it's a cultivated and captive. Projects, we don't need to worry about it for now, unless you want to join some. So you get all the information ready here. You click on share. And then there you go, you made an observation. Let me see. Okay, I'll talk a little bit. So this observation, you have ID'd it to this, to species level. You can see I have circled here that it's not research grade. So basically, for most of the organism is 2 people identify it to species level and agreed on the species, it will be research grade, and this will have a little green tick as well. And I've talked to office staff from Giggle. They said if it's research grade, although a bit slow, they would be able to go to Giggle. So that's what I heard last year. Right. Okay, that's all about add observation in your app. If you want to add it in your computer, so basically this option is, for example, your green space doesn't have very good signal. Certainly there are some don't have good signal, like in Haringey, Queenswood, is no signal. You can just take photos and then come back to home and upload it in the comfort of your home or office. So here we see this computer screen again when we first sign up. So here, add observations. So just click here, and then you will see this page. You just drop your photo in here, and you can also have a few other options if you wish to use. And then exactly the same as in the phone. So this should be autofill, and this is the same categories we just talked about in the phone. And then you fill in all this, and you have made a observation. So here it still says needs ID. Don't worry, it's about the research grade thing again. So 2 people ID'd to species level and agreed on the species. Right, so that's all about the making observation and in the phone and in the computer. I just want to talk a little bit about preparing it before the event. So one thing you can do is just go out with your phone, make some observations in the green space you have. If you want to get familiar with using the app and things, and also get to know what species are there. Another great way to know the species that people have been recording in your area is go back to this screen that we have earlier and click on Explore. And if you click on it, it has a few options, like they give you a map and then dots of the observations people make in your area, or a list of it. So you can browse it and see what has already been observed. Third one is you can prepare some survey equipment and guides. Obviously, you don't need to, because you can just go there, take photo of a moth, and there you go, you can make it. Or tag it along to other activities such as litter picking or guided walk. But here, if you want to prepare a few equipment, a white tray is always good, so you can show people the organism quite easily so they can see. Magnifying glasses, if you do mini bees hunting, so children can see, for example. And some homemade things, like on top here, this is just like a sealable plastic pouch. This is to temporarily confine this centipede. It's not harmed, but you can observe features very easily through this. And then you can let the centipede go after you observed it. Really useful in a sunny day against the sun, so you can see all the little legs and everything. Or this spider pot, which just basically 2 plastic pots got together with some sponge and things. You can find some tutorial in YouTube very easily. So it's also to temporarily confine the spider so you can observe all the details. So basically from this homemade ones to more elaborate ones like sweeping net and ID guides. We also have this like foldable ID guides, or you can make your own ID guides just based on your observation earlier or exploration earlier. But those are all optional. Okay, so after the event, If you want, you can go back to your lab or just ID it further with an ID book and just refine it and go to species level. And it's very good if you go back in a few days just to check the ones you have uploaded to see whether other people from the community have helped you ID. So in this case, I have only ID'd this centipede to genus level, but there are a lot of experts and naturalists that are very active in this app, and they will come back to you and ID this for you. For example, Steve is very active in this centipede. So he have ID'd it to the species level. So what you do is, if you agree with them, you click on agree, then this is research grade. Right, that's actually everything. And we can go to Q&A.
Right. So I think a few people asked some questions in the chat. So, so could we all get a link to the recording? Yes, I will put it on the LFGN website after the meeting, and we'll also send it out on the newsletter as well. How does this tie in to Giggle? Cassandra, are you able to answer that one?
Yeah, I said shortly, briefly in my presentation that I've asked a staff from Giggle, and they said if it's research grade, as I showed you earlier, it will eventually go to Giggle. But from what I know, they seem to be prioritize iRecord and then iNaturalist, but eventually, yeah.
Yeah, so it all gets back there eventually, as she says, yeah.
I don't know if people saw the link that I put in the chat that was just from iRecord explaining the link between iRecord and iNaturalist. And I think the idea is that when an observation becomes a research grade on iNaturalist, it does go over to iRecord, and then Giggle takes the information from iRecord. So I think that's why it's just a bit more postponed.
Great, thank you. I think that covers the questions in the chat. Did anyone else have any questions? Just pop your hand up. Looks like we must have done a very thorough. Oh, here we go. Terry, would you like to?
Yeah. How are the observations going to be used, or are you going to come to that in a minute? How are they, once we take part in the challenge and everyone's uploaded all their images to iNaturalist, are they going to be used in any particular way by the city challenges, or is it just a counting exercise for who can do the most images, or what happens as a result of taking all of these images?
Yeah, so there is a competitive aspect to it to see which city can get the most observations. But I mean, ultimately, it does feed into the environmental record centers. And so it all becomes part of the process of, of safeguarding sites, as habitats. I don't know, Cassandra or Michelle, do you want to maybe answer that more thoroughly than I can?
Yeah, I guess actually something that we've not talked about is that there is actually another aspect of the challenge. There's a second part, and normally, just from what I've gathered so far, is that there are some specific people that really love to get into the second part of it, especially people that have just a bit more knowledge on kind of species identification, and that the layman or the person visiting the park might not necessarily want to get involved in, but super happy to share it with you guys. So there's the first part of the challenge, which is about going out, taking photos, getting the records, and then I'm just copying and pasting the dates. There's a second part, which is May 2nd till May 7th, and that is when it's a blast to just try and get as many of the things identified that were recorded during the City Nature Challenge, the 4-day period previously. So there is an effort to actually make them hopefully, you know, verified 3 times, so they're research grade. I've just put the dates in the chat. And then, yeah, I guess it's, Cassandra, I don't know if you can answer this better, but, you know, once it's a research graded observation, it could be used for so many reasons. It can, you know, in the long run, it can help, you know, with kind of thinking about how species are changing through climate change and their distribution, the presence, absence of a species. It might be that, you know, a migrating bird has been spotted that hasn't been found in that area before. So the kind of the list is endless, I'd say. Yeah, Cassandra, I don't know if you want to add to that.
Yeah, I think what you covered the scientific part, but one very, very important and very good aspect of this is everyone with a count can see it. So anyone interested in nature just can see the photos and see what are the wildlife in my area. So that's absolutely amazing already. So if people get to know nature, it's more likely they start to protect it. So it's just wonderful in that aspect as well.
Thank you.
And I guess even just the second part, you know, people might actually start getting interested in species identification, giving it a go, especially starting from those species that might be a bit more familiar and less intricate, kind of, you know, like birds maybe instead of mosses and lichens.
Yes, that was my area to focus. Yeah, exactly. I think it has quite a wide range of use. It's beginner friendly, as we say. And but also if you're expert, you go on and you verify it as the one I showed you earlier as well. So you also like get to know the species in this area for your own research purposes.
I think that often in cities, like maybe especially young people are, you know, not aware of how much nature is around them, and it could really inspire a career in you know, in some sort of environmental or wildlife arena. So Sally asked, how would young people be able to carry on if they have been enthused by an event? Well, I mean, I guess, so iNaturalist is open all year long, so you can use it whenever you like. I mean, I guess it's sort of maybe down to whether they want to perhaps get involved in more friends group activities or other community group activities that could possibly lead to a career in something like this, if they really felt like, you know, they found their calling. Michelle or Cassandra, do you want to add to that?
I was just thinking, you know, just the fact that this is an event which is being enthusiastic about using phones. I think for young people that will be particularly interesting and appealing, especially in a nature setting where there might be a big focus typically on, you know, people kind of relaxing and maybe trying to take it in, not using your phones, but actually having an event which shows the benefit of using it. And having run them before with a lot of young people, I found that it wasn't just a case of a load of people just sat looking at their phones the whole time. It was, you know, you're still looking around you and taking it in, but there is just that added element of the phone, and I just think that's really cool. It's quite unique.
Yes, and you can get feedback like the last slides I showed. So you can get feedback of whether your ID is correct, or some tips from experts. How do you ID, what photo you need to take to ID? So that's key to go further and to have feedback.
Great, thank you. And then Sally's just added to that, most of the people we will be introducing to nature will be primary school age. So, you know, I think they would need to have a supervising adult with them, obviously, but it could be something that families take on in, you know, outside of school, for example. You know, maybe you go for a walk in the countryside and you can take iNaturalist with you on your phone and do it there as well. Or just even, you know, on the way home from school, you know, look at what plants are growing in the pavement cracks and that kind of thing. Can you explain a bit more about using the cultivate option? We will be in a park where most plants are cultivated. I'll hand over to Cassandra, but I guess one thing would be that it's not just about the plants, it's also about the mini beasts and so forth. So, I mean, you might get some visiting butterflies that they are still, you know, we can't say that they're captive. So you'd still be able to capture that information as well as the plants themselves. Cassandra, do you want to add to that one?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, just if those plants are cultivated, just use that cultivated option there. But as Laura says, there are a lot of wild organisms such as moss, lichen, small weeds. So I'm sure you will find some actually in the parks. From my experience, I was in Finsbury Park. I was just like looking at moss and lichen. On one tree, there are like 5 or 6 different species. So I think you probably can find some. But if not, take photos of the cultivated plants and just use the option.
So Sheila's asked, if we have an event in our open space, does everyone submit the same observation or does the leader do the recording? Maybe that probably depends on how you want to organize it, but Michelle, do you want to take that one? Or I can. So sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just researching Seek to put in the chat in a bit. So or Sandra, I don't know if you're touching on that. I'm really sorry I missed that bit. So
No,
if you
that's
can
okay.
take it, Laura.
Yeah, sure. I think it sort of depends how you want to hold the event. So if you wanted to take everyone around your green space together, then yeah, maybe you don't need necessarily 20 observations, but maybe people would like to do observations on their own phone anyway, so that they've got a record of what they've observed. And I guess you know, another option would be to sort of, you know, have people in an area, so maybe say 10 meters square, and just ask people to find what they can find on their own would be another way of doing it, in a slightly still social way, but, you know, people could find things for themselves, would be another way of doing it. Cassandra, is there anything you want to add to that in terms of how to organize the event?
I think you covered it. And also just earlier, if you have a group account, you can just control what to be put in organized observation, or you can just do different areas, and one people go there, the other people go there. But I wouldn't get too worried about one thing being photoed twice.
Yeah, I think also, yeah, sometimes from a verification point of view, it might be easier to get different angles on the same thing as well, just to make it easier to see what it actually looks like, because sometimes it can be difficult on a phone. Do you have any resources or posters that we can use to send out to local WhatsApp groups about the 4 days? We haven't created any ourselves, but the website, which I think Michelle has put in the chat already, will have some things, I would imagine, that can be useful, or at least you can link to the website on a WhatsApp group for people to explore the website themselves. Does anyone else have any questions?
Can I add a little bit about primary school age children question? So for iNaturalist, if I remember it correctly, you have to be over 13 or something. Anyway, if for people who can't have an account, they actually have one thing for young people called Seek by iNaturalist, SEEK. That's specifically for people. Oh yeah, Michelle have put it here. So yes, so they actually have a lot of tools to engage people that are younger. So link is in the chat already.
Oh, sorry, Stephen, did I miss a question from you earlier? Is there a deadline for getting events to us? No, certainly not. Just I'm actually going to be away for the next couple of weeks. So in terms of our publicizing events, I'll get onto it as soon as I get back from leave. But yeah, just we'll put it on a newsletter probably the week, maybe the Monday before. So if we say anything that you want to go in the newsletter to park visitors, I'm just looking quickly at the dates. So if you could get that to me by say 9 a.m. on the 24th to go in a newsletter, but I can always put things on social media and tag local groups and stuff like that. So so yeah, it's just for the newsletter really. How would you record abundance with iNaturalist? Cassandra?
So I know in iRecord there's abundance that you can put in a number. For iNaturalist, they aren't a specific tab. So what I do is just repeat taking a photo and do it again. So submit another observation. That's what I do, unless if Michelle, you know more about it, or
I actually don't. And I think just if some people might have something more to say about that, but just slightly linked, is that some people might already be like really happy with iRecord. And I think there are some real benefits to iRecord over iNaturalist. But I think I think it's been touched on already, is iNaturalist is just a bit more user friendly, especially for people that might not be into recording wildlife already and identification. And I think for those that are already using iRecord, it might even be best to stick with that, apart from for City Nature Challenge. So for that 4-day period, you could potentially use iNaturalist just to get involved in that element of things. But otherwise, I think if you're happy with iRecord, you're probably getting, I don't know if better quality data, but you could probably get, you know, with, for example, just with recording abundance, that is easier to do through iRecord. I don't know if you would agree with that, Cassandra.
yes, there are quite a few nice options in iRecords, definitely.
Yeah, pros and cons to them all, I guess.
I'm normally use, like, if it's a rare and some really under-recorded species, I probably use iRecord just to get it there quicker. Or even I just go to Giggle's website and just submit my record directly to Giggle. So that's like even faster for them to use it, for example.
We're running an event later for BioBlitz, a BioBlitz event on the 9th and 10th of June. Yes, I'd be very happy to publicize it. So you've got my my email address. It's in the presentation, but also you can just reply to the newsletter if you like, the one from Go Parks London, that is, and let me know the details, and I'd be very happy to promote that, certainly. Although obviously for the purposes of the City Nature Challenge, it'd be great to do something then as well. Can you supply logos, etc., for use in publicity and posters? I don't know about copyright, but presumably if it's a City Nature Challenge event, are we allowed to use the logos for posters? I might need to look into that.
As far as I'm aware, yes, but I can't say I'm 100%. I'm just trying to see if I can have a look, and please, in your own time, if people want to look at the useful links I put in, Natural History Museum provides like packs that you can use and guidance notes, and it might be clearer in that.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions? No, I think that's probably it then. So thank you again, everyone, for taking the time to join the call today. And yeah, I really hope that you can hold a a great event for City Nature Challenge. And yeah, please do let me and Michelle, if you're in Haringey, know about any events that you're doing, and we can hopefully help wrestle up some participants. And thank you to Michelle and Cassandra for their presentations as well.
Great, thank you everybody.
Thank you. Thanks very much. It was really useful.
Okay,
Lovely.
thank you.
Thank you. Have a lovely evening, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.